I've never been great at asking for referrals. I don't know why, just never thought of it that much. But it was really hammered into my head at this business event last week. That's like one of the lowest hanging fruits. There was other people there who routinely ask for referrals, and they're building their entire businesses on referrals. We get all of our customers, almost all of them, from our marketing and from, the internet. So if we could turn around and increase the number of customers we're getting by like 25% by asking for referrals all the time, that would be huge for us. And so it's really easy to do. All you do is ask every time you can. Every time you talk to a client, you just ask them, do you know anybody else that could benefit from our services? Or do you know anybody else that needs this? And it's a really good gauge of how happy they are, because some people will say, oh yeah, I know 3 people. They'll say one and then they'll say another, and I'm like, oh, there's another one, and they'll just start listing them. That's a really good sign. I had a guy this morning say, oh, well, we're doing this 3-month plan and we're halfway through. Let me see how it goes for the rest of the 3 months, and then I'll decide whether or not we're going to refer you. So that was a good gauge. It's like he's not quite sold yet. He's not quite sure. And then if somebody's like not happy, then they'll probably bring that up. They'll be like, oh, I'm not going to refer you because I don't think you're going to make me look good if I refer you. And so that's like an alarm bell right there. Mm-hmm. But, if my advice to anybody who is hard up for clients or just has spots in their schedule to fill is like every conversation you have with someone at the end, ask them, do you know anybody that needs this?
Yeah. It's so simple. Yeah, I think a lot of people, me included, back in the day, is you think that referrals have to be unsolicited for it to be genuine, and that it's awkward to ask, but that's not the case. When someone's happy with your service, they're happy to refer people because they know it's helping you win bigger.
Yeah, and you can offer incentives if you want, or like kickbacks, or just reward referrals without saying you're going to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, referrals suck actually, if you don't have a system around it, they're great when you are getting them consistently, but then it sucks when you stop getting them and you don't know why. And that's the thing about it, is when you don't have a system around it, then it's just random. But if you're asking every single client, then it makes it really consistent.
That's where a lot of our clients, when they come to us, they're contractors, construction companies, and they're like, oh, well, we've always got referrals. We never needed to think about marketing, but we're not getting as many referrals in the last few months. Or they're just so inconsistent, we want something more consistent. Mm-hmm. And so, if you could have a way of, for me, it took me like 12 times hearing it from other people over the last few years to finally sink in.
Yeah.
I'm a slow learner, what can I say? And so I've just finally got it this last week. And so I've just been asking every conversation I have. And I'm going to add it into like our contact form, our onboarding forms, our emails. Like, we're just going to always be asking. Mm-hmm. And we'll pair that with like always trying to confirm with our customers that they're happy.
Yeah.
Hey, are you having a good experience? You are great. Do you know anyone else that wants to have a good experience?
Yep.
And then if they're not, then we're confronting that in the moment as well. Mm-hmm. So it's like twofold. And at the end of the day, I think it all just comes down to communicating and having an open dialogue with your customers of like, hey, this is what you want and we're giving it to you. This is what I want and you can give it to me.
Yep.
And not being afraid to just put that forward, like, hey, that's what we're after.
Mm-hmm. It's also a good way to reactivate old customers. So like if you don't have like a good reason to call, that can be a reason.
Yeah.
I used to do that in Raxos, and a lot of the times it didn't lead to a referral, but it led to them being like, oh, actually I need this, this, and this. Mm-hmm. And then it just kind of reactivated that customer.
That's something that Hormozy was pushing a bunch lately, is as a way to approach people that you maybe haven't worked with before, is like, do you know anybody that needs this?
Yeah.
And you're like a sideways way of asking them if they need it.
Yeah, it's such a soft pitch. And then if they need it, then they thought of it. So it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask for referrals.
Yeah.
And don't be surprised when I ask you when we talk.
Yeah, for real. The way I look at it too is the more conversations you can have, no matter the topic, the more opportunities and doors get opened. Sometimes doors that you didn't even expect to get opened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that reminds me of a consultation I did with this guy yesterday, and he opened the conversation about like Google Maps and websites and stuff like that, and I drew out the little lead gen pyramid, and it's actually on here. But at the bottom I put referrals and network, because in my opinion that's something that is so foundational. It should be happening all the time. He was asking, hey, he had these different schemes of trying to figure out what other contractors in his area are charging for bathroom remodels. And I told him, I was like, what might be easier is to just call all the remodelers in your area and talk to them. And be like, hey, I'm calling everybody, just curious, like what you charge on average. And some people might not want to tell you, and that's fine. But I'd be willing to bet that more than half of the people would be open with you if you were like kind and open with them.
Yeah.
And you never know what would happen. Like you call 30 people, half of them will talk to you. And you talk to a few people and you start getting some numbers. And then you maybe the average you're getting is like 20K. And then you talk to a guy and he's charging 8. And you're like, dude, you're charging 8? Wow, like everyone else I'm talking to is charging 20. And that guy's going to be like, what? How do people charge 20? That's insane. And you might have just saved this guy's life and his business, because maybe that was completely unsustainable for him, but he had no idea. And then you talk to the next guy and he's like, oh yeah, I don't do them for less than 40. And you're like, what? How do you charge 40? That's crazy. And so he's going to help you level up. And
Totally.
So everyone that you talk to after the other, like maybe they share with you and then you can share your findings with them.
Yeah.
And now you're friends with 15 other contractors in your area, and you're becoming like a hub in your own network.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I think a lot of people avoid because they don't want to talk to anybody, or they don't think anyone will talk to them, or they're shy or whatever. But the people I know who do the best, they're the ones that in their community, they know everybody knows them. Like they're just genuinely interested in what's going on around them. And they know how much he's charging, and they know what kind of project he did last month, and they all talk all the time, and they're all friends. And if you run your business like that, I don't think you can fail.
I call that co-opetition.
Yeah, exactly. Like everybody views it's like everyone as it's pure competition, but I think in general, a lot of the times, like we're all in this together. We can all do better together than we can apart. Yeah,
Definitely.
co-opetition is good.